Okay, everybody, here we go. It's me, Gregory Mannarino, Sunday, April 7th, 2024. This is my newest segment of Markets A Look Ahead. People, I have a lot to talk with you about here. Let's start off with this. Unless you live under a rock or are totally disconnected from reality, there's a serious issue going on that is, I think, flying under the radar of most people. I just don't get it, but there's a big problem here. Let's talk about that. And I also want to talk about how the mainstream media plays this up. Here's a headline from Friday, just after the market closed. Check out this headline here. Consumer credit. Credit is debt, okay? They called it credit, but it's debt. Consumer credit continues to grow at a solid rate in February. So they're putting what appears to be a positive spin on a very negative issue. Now let's go on here. Borrowing was up by 14.1 billion compared to the prior month. Now, what does this tell you and me? What does this tell us here? As we have covered to the point of nauseum, the situation is forcing people to borrow beyond their eyeballs and more. It's an astonishing thing. The mainstream media plays this up as a positive thing. The consumer is strong. They're continuing to borrow. They're spending more. People have no choice but to spend more in this environment as inflation continues to outpace every freaking projection that the Federal Reserve has double fist fed every single one of us here. But then again, there is no accountability. What happened to temporary? What happened to transitory? It's all gone now. And this has rattled the markets quite obviously. We've seen a sell-off here in the debt market that has been, I don't want to say profound, but interesting, maybe more the word. Again, we have a situation where there's a tug of war going on, and it still is. You got one faction of people who believe the Fed is not going to be cutting rates, maybe even raising rates. You have another faction of people who believe the Fed is going to cut rates. That's the group of people that I'm in here, because I understand as well as you do that this is a central bank's power and they are going to extort more control. Notice the word here, extort more control out of people. And this is part of it here. Again, consumer credit continued to grow at a solid pace. A solid rate. They're done, unfortunately, and they're going to continue to, this is, again, a situation that is being forced upon everyone. They must borrow. It's the nature of the beast. And it's the same thing for the macro picture, how nations are in more debt than they've ever been in the history of the world. And this is creating what I have called a debt death spiral. And we're going to talk more about that in just a moment. So let us move forward here. So with regard to inflation here, okay, we're going to get some reports this week on, obviously, the economy and a big anticipated report on inflation. And I'm going to give you a little clue as to what this report's going to be before it even comes out. Inflation continues to rise. Absolutely, it's not going to stop. You and I have been covering this, since day one, when they tried to fist feed us the fable that by central banks somehow raising rates, we were going to miraculously see inflation drop. Absolutely not. It's not even meant to work like that. This is another fairy tale that has been sold to people. But again, what else would you expect? And then you got the propaganda ministry, backing up the nonsensical garbage that the Federal Reserve is putting out. It's insane. Now I want to talk to you about something else here. A lot of you have been writing to me about this. I've spoken about this loan forgiveness. There's no such thing. This does not exist. You have to understand. There's no such thing as a free lunch anywhere. When debt is so-called forgiven, student debt, it immediately gets put on all of our backs, okay? It's added to the national debt. So, again, There are no free lunches here. And this is part of the mechanism, too, of the debt-death spiral that we are in right now. Just real quick before I go over one more thing. A lot of you write to me and say, Greg, why are you pushing cryptocurrency on people? First of all, I'm not pushing anything on anyone. People are telling me, Greg, you're pushing crypto. It's a scam. You should be ashamed of yourself. Let me enlighten you. This whole thing is a scam. Do you need any more proof? Here's just a few things that we just covered. This entire thing is a scam on a scale of epic proportions, but that does not mean that we can't utilize, and we're going to, every single avenue that we can come up with to turn the tables on the system. We can use the knowledge that the entire system is a scam, okay, and profit from it. At least from a financial, you have a choice here. You could sit back, suck your thumb in some corner, and allow the system to destroy you. Or you could take our side, the side of my lions, my friends out here, who are weaponizing the system against those who are trying to destroy us. It's already completely rigged against all of us, but we are smart enough to turn the tables. And in my view, again, it's the same people who call cryptocurrency a scam, who don't get that the whole system is a scam, that have been consistently missing out on incredible opportunities here to make a profit here in cryptocurrency and then convert that into whatever they want to. Okay, you want to pull your profits out and buy precious metals, good for you. Or buy more dividend-paying stocks to generate cash flow. I mean, look, as I've told you a million times, nothing is going to get by this guy. And that means it's not going to get by you either. And we've been super far ahead of the curve. Now, people, I want to cover this. This is a piece of, this is something I put out here just yesterday. You'll find this in your inbox if you subscribe to my free newsletter. It's really free. There are no strings attached. I don't share your information with anyone. So do subscribe if you haven't as of yet. You're not going to find this kind of information anywhere else, no matter how much you pay for it. So I want to go over this as I usually do. I want to read through this and I want to add to it as I go along. I mean, these are usually pretty short here, about a page and a half at most. Anyway, let's do this here. Hold on a second. I just came across something on I usually print on both sides. You remember this? U.S. manufacturing sector grows for the first time in 1.5 years. This is a graph of the 1.5 years. They're saying that this little blip right here is some kind of a miraculous turnaround. This trend here, this downward spiral, is going to continue. This blip is nothing, okay? But again, this is part of the propaganda that you're being fist-fed. With that said, people, let's talk about this, all right? Again, in your inbox, if you subscribe to my newsletter. So we are in a debt spiral, and it's no accident. You know this already. Bear with me. Some of this is review, but some of it's going to be new. All right, Lions and friends, always feel free to share this stuff. Let's cut right to the chase right here and right now. The current skyrocketing global debt crisis, we're in a full-blown crisis, is worsening rapidly. With that, the ensuing fallout, which will undoubtedly occur because of this crisis, is going to send shockwaves around the world. And I cannot underscore that more. All right, shockwaves around the world. Now, we spoke about this recently. The International Monetary Fund, or International Mafia Fund, the IMF here, according to a recent publication by the IMF, the inevitable defaults, defaults which will eventually occur because of the current worldwide debt crisis will cause panic in the financial markets. That's not Greg Mannarino. This is the IMF. But it goes way beyond the markets, people. Today's global debt, think about what I'm about to tell you. These numbers sound pretty incredible, but think about what it means, because generally these things just go over people's heads. People have a hard time with numbers, but listen to this statistic. Today's global debt has ballooned to over 336% of the world's gross domestic product. That's epic. Global debt is today surging higher at a pace which has never been seen before in history. Keep that in mind, and there's a reason behind it. Moreover, as a percentage of GDP, do you remember me telling you this for like 10 years now? The world economy is contracting at its fastest pace on record. We've never seen anything like this before. This is a whole new phenomenon going on. What we can be certain of, there's one thing we can be certain of, people, that global debt will surge exponentially higher from here. A paradox. You know the paradox I'm about to tell you, but let's pay a little more attention to this. Understanding, listen to this, that the world today appears to be debt saturated. The reality is this: there is not enough debt to allow the system to function. You heard right. And it is this fact which is precisely why we are witnessing global debt surge higher at a record pace. You get it? Okay. The current system is debt-based. You all know that. Most people have no idea, even a slight clue, that the system is debt-based. That means that simply to function, more and more debt must be created. For a debt-based system to function at its current level, you know this, exponentially, more debt must be created. Debt creation cannot be linear or flat. It must expand. Henceforth, why we're seeing the pace that we're seeing now with debt, global debt expanding at its fastest pace on record. This mechanism of constant, relentless debt creation is solely responsible, the sole reason, for allowing the current system to function. Without this mechanism in place, and I would hope you are aware of this if you follow this blog, or should I say, the moment it stops, the entire financial system locks up, which is also known as a credit freeze or a liquidity crisis. Here's a little tidbit of information you may not know. The fact of the matter is this: the current debt crisis is a liquidity crisis, as any lack of expanding debt, or they call it credit. Okay, it's an astonishing thing, these twist on words here. Consumer credit, consumer debt. You see, when they spin it, it sounds a little different. It sounds less ominous, I suppose. But anyway, the fact of the matter is this: the current debt crisis is a liquidity crisis, and any lack of expanding debt, credit, okay, will cause the complete system to shut down due to a lack of liquidity. With a credit freeze / liquidity crisis, people have no idea what this actually means. And this was happening during the last meltdown, 2008, the stock market meltdown. It wasn't about the stock market, okay? Stop focusing on what the mainstream media wants you to put your eyeballs on. Look at the Dow, look at the S&P 500, look at the NASDAQ and the Russell 2000. No, you have to look at the debt market. You all know that here. With a credit freeze or liquidity crisis, all transactions stop. What was happening then, the credit markets were starting to lock up. If they didn't do something to prevent that massive capital injections into the system, you couldn't use your debit card, you couldn't use your credit card, you couldn't get a single dime out of the bank, so they had to, again, inject capital into the system here. No access to cash in bank accounts or brokerages. Credit cards, debit cards, credit of any kind ceases to work. It all stops. The result, pay attention to this part. The result will not just be panic in the financial markets as per the IMF, but absolute pandemonium in the streets. What do you think would happen if people can't go to the store? They can't buy anything. Their debit cards don't work. No transactions. It all stops. Unless you have cash. What have I been telling you? Keep some cash on hand. Okay? Very little. But enough that in an emergency you can transact with some of that stuff. But if you go to the stores, unfortunately, and try to swap silver, probably, unless you went to a mom and pop store, you're not going to get anything. You understand? So you need to have some cash in your possession, because a credit freeze, a liquidity crisis is exactly where they are pushing us. Why do you think that global debt is surging higher at its fastest pace on record? They are bringing us to our knees. They're going to make us beg for a new system, people. The immediate side effect of perpetually expanding debt is, of course, currency devaluation / a loss of purchasing power. Duh! I think we're on top of that, right? A phenomenon which is currently sweeping the globe. You really think this is a comedy of errors? You really think this is just by accident? Honestly? You really think this is some kind of joke, and the joke is on us, that every projection by the Federal Reserve or a central bank about inflation coming down has been wrong, and there's of course no accountability by our loving, caring representatives? You think this is just by accident? If you do, turn off this channel right now. You don't belong here. Or you need to start to think. Central bank issued currency is owned by, and I've told you this a million times, and owed back to the issuing central bank, plus interest they themselves create out of the thin air. This mechanism is a self-fulfilling prophecy for central banks. This process alone is currency purchasing power negative. Can I get another duh, please? Okay. Moreover, it allows the issuing central bank to create more debt. Debt creation. People, this is key. Debt creation, expanding debt, credit, okay, is how any central bank keeps its power. The more debt they create, the stronger they become. You understand? Again, I have to go back to when Trump was president last time, when he was vastly expanding the debt. People said, oh, he's trying to bankrupt the Fed. No, he was doing exactly what he was being told to do, expand the debt. Why? It makes central banks stronger, not weaker. The last 3 presidents, including the current imbecile sitting behind the Resolute desk, have done more to empower the Federal Reserve than every single president combined, going back to George freaking Washington. All right. The fact of the matter is this. We are in a deliberate, as you well know, central bank-induced debt death spiral, of which only one thing is a guarantee. We, the people who are forced to participate in their slave debt-based system, will continue to lose. Do you want to know who your real enemy is? It's central banks. Period. Okay? It's not the red team or the blue team or anything else. It's not what religion you follow, what color your skin is, or anything else. That's what they want you to believe. It is the central banks who must remain blameless, spotless, and be perceived as if they are on the side of angels. You understand? But they are the enemy. It's not each other. People, hope you get something out of these videos. I really hope you do, because I don't sit here and have my blood pressure rise like it is right now for my own health, because believe me, this is not healthy for me. Okay, I do it because I genuinely care about all. This is going to be the death of me, I'm telling you right now. I care about all of you, and I am trying my hardest to enlighten you as to what's happening and what you need to do about it. Understanding that the system is, all of it is a fraud. It's a complete fake completely fake across the board. You got to take every avenue that you can grasp at and flip the tables on those who are trying to destroy you. You don't think you're under attack? I've been telling you for over 10 years, if you are a member of the middle class, you have a tattoo on your face in the shape of a target. You're being eliminated. You're being exterminated. But remember to focus on the Democrats and the Republicans and the hatred between people and everything else, because that's what's really happening. It's a game, and you are a pawn in it. You understand? The central banks are your enemy. Once you understand what they're doing to you, to the world, to destroy the world economy, to bring us to our knees so we beg for a new system for which they're going to extort more control out of all of us, that's when you'll wake up. Until that time, you're going to remain lost beyond anyone's wildest dreams, okay? That's the whole system is rigged. It's a psyop. It's a mind screw on a grand scale. But that doesn't mean you and I are not going to change a damn thing. Betting against the debt, becoming our own central bank, holding hard assets, period, the freaking end, taking advantage of where commodities are going here. I've been telling you this for I don't know how freaking long here. And yes, cryptocurrencies are a part of that. If you think we've seen the top, and I know they're playing that up right now, the CNBC, oh, we've seen the top in crypto. They are so off base. All my crypto friends out here are laughing, okay? We are not even close to that, people. I'm just telling you right now. An implosion of the debt market, which has been hyperinflated right now, is going to occur. It's going to wipe out everything that we think is real. because it's not. And we are going to see a movement of cash from one set of assets into another that is going to rock the core of the earth. Until that time, we take advantage of the stock market. We stay long. I can promise you that central banks are going to cut rates here because that's their goal, to continue to inflate. Besides war, which is expanding at an astonishing pace, just as you and I called that it would, because again, no other endeavor on this planet allows a central bank to inflate more than expanding war. Why? War creates a need for more borrowed dollars than any other endeavor that you can dream about, think about, or even have a nightmare about. But the next phase is going to be rate suppression on a scale we can't even believe. Again, when a central bank says we're going to keep rates low or we're going to lower rates, it can't just happen. They have to create cash, add digits to a screen on an unprecedented scale and get into the market and buy all the debt. This is what they want to do. Central banks want to be the lenders and buyers of last resort. You know that because I've been telling you forever. We've discussed it to the point of nauseum. They are the enemy. They're winning. We are losing. You get that? Until we can take back the system from these institutions here, we'll never be free. Never be free, no matter who they put behind the resolute desk. Wake up, people. Wake up. I hope this video has done something to you. I really do. I hope it has affected you in some way that you can finally understand what's going on. All right, people, look, I'm also going to ask you to share this stuff. I think it's a very important video, maybe one of the most important I've ever done. Please share the video. Please get it out there. Please comment, and if you got something out of this video, I would appreciate a thumbs up. Thumbs up are required for those of you that follow this blog religiously, okay? I really hope you give this video a thumbs up because it allows the algorithms to pick it up. Let's make a difference in the world. That's all I want, is for all of us to make a positive difference in the world, and we have an opportunity here. I told you this a million times. I believe that one single person can possibly change the world. So imagine what collectively we can do if we really wanted to, all right? I love all of you from the heart. I mean that. I will see all of you in the morning. Until that time, take care of yourselves and take care of each other.